Hello, it's Stephanie. Welcome to lesson 27. So this is a vocabulary lesson. We're going to be looking at verbs of the senses. My name's Stephanie. This is level B2 and lesson 27. So in this lesson, we are going to use the verbs feel, hear, see, smell or taste to talk about impressions. We're going to look at the difference between stative and dynamic or active verbs. And we're going to practice two different constructions. Firstly, using a verb and adjective, and secondly, using verb and like and noun. So as always, there's lots to do in this lesson. Okay, so to start off, I have a question for you. Do you know the difference between a stative and an active verb? Maybe the word stative is new, but you understand the word active. Well, have a look at this list of verbs and see if you can have a think, in your opinion, in your mind, which ones are active verbs? Okay, so let's have a look at this list. We have like, drink, run, prefer, know, buy, suppose, mean, understand, believe, write, belong, smell, speak, see, and hear. Now, in your opinion, what do you think? Which of these are active verbs? And then by default, the others will be stative. And we'll have a look in a minute a bit more at the meaning of stative. But just have a think. Which ones are active, do you think? Pause the slide and see if you can identify the active verbs for me. Okay, how many do you think? Well, let's have a look together. So the verbs that I have highlighted in orange are active verbs: drink, run, buy, write, and speak. They are performing an action. So by default, the others are stative, describing a state. And we're going to have a look to start this lesson at the difference between stative and active verbs. Okay, so the following verbs, which are stative verbs, are not normally used in the continuous tense. And this is the key point here. So this is a list of some of the verbs. There are some more, and you can always check them out. But these are some very common verbs that we do not usually use in a continuous tense. So have, want, need, prefer, know, realise, suppose, mean, understand, believe, remember, belong, smell, taste, see, and hear. So I think it's perhaps a good idea to pause the slide and make a note of these verbs, because it's quite useful to remember that we do not normally use these in a continuous tense. They're called stative verbs because, as I've just explained, they are describing a state. Now, the interesting thing with some stative verbs is that if we use them in a continuous form, the meaning changes and they become active. Don't worry, don't feel confused. We're going to have a look at some examples together, and then I think it will become very clear what I mean. So let's have a look at some examples of this happening. Okay, so I'm seeing the exit. This is incorrect. Here, see is using your eyes. We don't use it in a continuous tense. I see the exit would be correct. However, look at the next example. I'm seeing my boss to discuss the project. Here, seeing used in a continuous tense has a different meaning. It means meeting my boss. I'm feeling the wind in my hair is incorrect. Should be I feel the wind, present simple. However, I'm feeling much better, thank you. Here, feeling is my state of health, so can be used in a continuous way. Imagine you're trying something. I'm tasting cinnamon. No, present simple. I taste cinnamon. But I'm tasting the soup to see if it needs more salt. Here, taste means testing. I'm testing the soup to see if it needs more salt. So what this slide illustrates is that sometimes stative verbs, although not normally used in a continuous tense, can be, but the meaning does change. So I think it's time we did some practice. Have a look at these sentences and tell me if you think they are correct or incorrect. So am I using the continuous form in the correct way? Number 1, I'm seeing Mount Fuji from my office. I'm seeing Mr. Green tomorrow. I'm thinking about changing my job. I'm thinking that it's a good idea. He is having a headache. He is having people round for dinner. So look at the pairs. 1 and 2 both use see. 3 and 4 use think. And 5 and 6 use have. Now 1 in each pair is correct and 1 is incorrect. So pause the slide and see if you can identify which is the correct version. Okay, let's have a look at our answers together. So in our first pairing, the correct one is number 2. I am seeing Mr. Green tomorrow. Remember, seeing here means meeting, so can be used in a continuous form. In the second pairing, number 3 is correct. I am thinking about changing my job. Here, thinking meaning considering. And our final pair, number 6, he's having people round for dinner is correct because here means having means inviting. He's inviting people round for dinner. So really well done if you managed to get those correct. The important thing to realise is that the rule is, generally speaking, we don't use stative verbs in a continuous tense, and when we do, they do change meaning. That's the important thing to remember. Okay, so let's move on and think about the 5 senses. So what are the 5 senses? Pause the slide, it's nice and easy, and tell me what the 5 senses are. Okay, so you should have see, feel, touch, taste, and smell. See, feel, touch, taste, and smell. Let's have a think about taste. That's a nice verb to think about. So let's see if we can think of some different adjectives to describe the way food tastes. Lots of possibilities here. It's impossible for us to cover all of them, but just pause the slide for 1 minute and see how many adjectives you can think of to describe the way food tastes. Remembering that this is a B2 level lesson, so we don't want things like good or nice. Let's try to be more descriptive here. So pause the slide. Okay, let's have a look at some possibilities. So we have bitter, sweet, salty, sour. Note the pronunciation here, sour. Bland. And savoury. Bitter, sweet, salty, sour, bland, and savoury. Now, for those of you studying for an exam like IELTS, being able to describe food in a descriptive way, in a detailed way, is a good way to increase your score, especially in the speaking part of the test, where it's quite common for an examiner to ask you about the type of food that's typical in your country. So being able to have a wider range of vocabulary, not just saying it tastes good, it tastes nice, but being able to be more descriptive about exactly how it tastes is very important. So let's just have a look in a bit more detail at the vocabulary that we've just looked at and check that we understand what it means. So if something is bitter, it's unpleasantly sharp. Something is sweet, it's sugary. Salty, a lot of salt. Sour would be that tastes like a lemon. Bland is a negative adjective and is used if something has little or no flavour. So imagine perhaps you're trying some soup, it doesn't taste of anything, the soup tastes bland. Savoury is the opposite of sweet. So this describes a whole manner of different food. For example, anything like cheese or bread is savoury because it's not sweet. So they're the two opposites. And the last one, spicy, is hot. So perhaps you're eating a curry, it's very spicy, it tastes hot. Okay, let's move on to a different verb. Let's look at looks. So have a look at the picture. How many adjectives can you think of to describe the way this landscape looks? So pause the slide. See how many adjectives you can think of. Again, there are numerous examples, so we'll just have a look at a few, but there's lots of different possibilities that you could have had. Okay, so idyllic, peaceful, relaxing, tranquil, calm, serene, and quiet. So idyllic, peaceful, relaxing, tranquil, calm, serene, and quiet. So well done if you managed to get any of those, but like I say, there are lots of different examples. Okay, so we've been thinking about the 5 senses. Let's have a look at the pattern of verb and adjective. So with smell, when you're describing something, you can keep the same verb. It smells and adjective. It smells delicious. With touch, you need to change to feel. It feels. Maybe it feels soft. See becomes look. It looks wonderful. Hear becomes sound. It sounds very loud. And taste stays the same. It tastes disgusting. So we're going to practice. Let's have a look at the next slide and see if you can complete the sentences with an appropriate adjective. So 5 sentences here. Number 1, a rose smells, a hot shower feels, an ice cream looks, a pneumatic drill sounds, and a lemon tastes. So what I want you to do is think of an appropriate adjective that could complete the sentence. So pause the slide and see if you can think of a suitable adjective for me. Okay, again, lots of possibilities, and it could be the ones that I've chosen are different to the ones that you've chosen, but the important thing is that you have an adjective in here. Okay, let's have a look together at some possibilities. So, a rose smells beautiful, aromatic. A hot shower feels relaxing, refreshing. Again, it depends on your opinion and what your climate is, but perhaps you've got something different. Number 3, an ice cream looks inviting, tempting. Number 4, a pneumatic drill. So they're the drills that you hear on the pavements, very, very loud. A pneumatic drill sounds annoying or deafening. And number 5, a chance to practice some of the food vocabulary we had. A lemon tastes bitter or maybe sour. So the important thing to remember here is that you need the adjective after the verb. As I said, lots of different possibilities that you could have had. And as always, if you would like me to check any of your answers, please remember you can send it in to me at Perfectly Spoken. So just send Perfectly Spoken an email, and in the subject box put B2 lesson 27, and then it will come through to me. Okay, so the final construction we're going to practice today is verb plus like plus noun. So the previous construction is when you want to use an adjective, but here we're using a noun. So again, smell. It smells like a. Touch. It feels like a. See. It looks like a. Hear. It sounds like a. And taste. It tastes like a. So again, what I'm going to do is to give you 5 sentences and see if you can complete them with your ideas. So your perfume smells like a. The pain feels like a. That woman looks like a. That noise sounds like a. And a satsuma tastes like a. So this time what I'm asking you to do is to think of a noun to complete the sentence. So pause the slide and see if you can think of 5 nouns for me. Okay, again, lots of different possibilities. So I'll just show you my answers so you have an idea. But there are lots of different things that you could have chosen. So your perfume smells like a flower. The pain feels like a sharp knife. That woman looks like a film star. That noise sounds like a car horn. And a satsuma tastes like an orange. So again, just some possibilities here. As always, there is a test that's following this lesson. When I say a test, it's just a further exercise, more practice for you. And we will review what we've looked at today in the review lesson number 30. That's the end of this lesson. So thank you very much for watching. Lesson 28 is going to be another grammar lesson, and it's going to continue looking at modal verbs, which are a really important aspect of English grammar. So I really hope you will join me for lesson 28, a grammar lesson, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.